यतः सर्वाणि भूतानि प्रतिभान्ति स्थितानि च यत्रै अवो अपश्मं यान्ति तस्मै सत्यात्मने नमः। ज्ञाता ज्ञानं तथा ज्ञेयं द्रष्टा दर्शन दृश्यभू कर्ता हेतु क्रिया यस्मात् तस्मै ज्ञानाप्त्यात्मने नमः। स्फुरन्ति सीकार यस्माद् आनन्दस्य आम्बरेव नौ सर्वेषां जीवनं तस्मै ब्रह्मानन्दात्मने नमः। Right. Now, I want to know if you all properly heard what we did in the last session. If you did and if you understood, if you did, it's okay, forget the understood. I don't know. Then I don't need to repeat it. That's why I'm asking. Please be frank and open. And these lights are too bright, like dazzling me. Like the Ishavasya Upanishad. Hiranyavarnena patrena apyasyapya mukham. Now I can see. O golden disk, O sun, take the dazzle out of you so that I can see you. Satya dharmaya drishtave, one who wants to see the truth. So like that, too much of dazzle. Gold dazzle, hiranyavarni. So, do we have to repeat? No. No? Yes, please tell me. Let's not waste time. What? No, please. Others mustn't feel bad that we are wasting time. Recap. I just want you to understand clearly the example I gave you about the red brick or whatever. That's all I'm saying. Yes? Because it will be easier then to understand what Vasishtha is trying to say. So it's like this. Don't worry, we'll do the Yoga Vasishtha. Suppose I have an object here. I told you this, what I am telling you is taken from a Sankhya text of Kapila. Suppose I have an object here, it could be anything, a globe or a cube. For the purpose of study we said cube. And the cube has certain attributes and characteristics. Like any other object that we see and we feel. This is an example, that's all. It's not only the cube, anything. Of course, if it's living, there's one more element in it. Attachment and repulsion. This poor cube, we don't have to be attached or repulsed, right? When it's a human or a living being, that additional element is added. So that you can see the most beautiful thing, but not be repulsed by it because you were thrown out of the house some time back. Or you may see the most terrible looking being and you will not be repulsed because when you were hungry and suffering, it gave you food. Now the human element is involved. Emotions. Here there is no emotion. We are talking about matter, physical matter as such. Okay. This is apart from the fact that anyone who has done even a little bit of science would know that what is solid matter is hardly solid, is mostly space. Space with various charges going around. But it seems to work in a certain order. It can change its order on its own. Nobody knows why an electron shifts from one shape to another. Nobody knows. It doesn't have a brain, but it does. There's a built-in intelligence happening. Apart from that, let's take this little... you look so different with your beard grown so big. Can you believe that he was my student at one time? Anyway. So, not now, in some other epoch. In the Ramakrishna Vidyapit in Devghar, he was my student. Anyway, so, yeah. And now he is looking like this. That time he looked different. Things keep changing. Okay. So here is a cube. Now I think you can all hear, right? Even if my voice goes down a bit. Because when you talk about such little nice things, I go down a bit. So here is this cube. It is, let's say, 4 by 4. According to our measurements, 4 by 4. It's a cube, so it has 6 sides and it is red in color. And when I lift up, I feel some weight. And when I press, there is matter there, so it's hard. Now, these are the attributes. If you weigh it, you will find weight. These are the attributes of the cube. Now, we are going to examine each of these attributes and see, do the attributes really belong to the object in front? Or are they absolute, or are they relative? Color. This we discussed extensively in the morning. Color is a quality of light, not any object. When an object absorbs most of the colors and reflects one, you say it's green or blue. It reflects the blue. Here, it reflects the red. So we say it is red. But the red color is actually an attribute of the light of the sun, or light. White light has many colors in it. Even in schools you do the experiment. You have a card, you have a disc with many colors, and then you rotate it fast and you see only white light. If you pass the white light through a prism, it becomes many colors. So, this color is an attribute of light. The only attribute that the cube has, though it has no brain, is that it absorbs all the other colors and reflects only the red. So I say it's a red cube. You can say that, oh, tomorrow I can paint it black. Yeah, you can, which means when you paint it black, it absorbs all the colors and reflects none. Right. One attribute, color, let's set it apart now. It is not the quality of the stuff there. Then you have the size and the shape. No, the size. Although we have a standard of judgment and say it's 4 by 4, size is very relative. For a big person, it is very small. For a small person, it is very big. For an ant, if you teach the ant to say it's 4 by 4, it will say 4 by 4. But for the ant, it's rather big. It has to climb all the way to come down. For me, it's so small, I can just pick it up and put it. It's quite relative. The size is very relative. That's why sometimes when you see tall people and you go in front of you feel belittled because they are huge and you're tiny like a pygmy. It's very relative. Okay. And then you have what is called a materiality of the object. means if I hold it, it's hard or soft or whatever. That again is very relative. For a mighty creature like the elephant, it's not very hard. Can crumble it in no time. For me it's hard. Right? And then you say, but then it is material. Yes, okay. Viewing from my instruments of perception, eyes, here, it is, material is hard. There is material there. But imagine a cloth, which I think is also material, to which I can't put my finger. You all know that cloth is made of the warp and the woof. So there certainly is some space between them, between this and this. But for me, I don't see it. If that is so, how many small creatures like bacteria, virus, they can go through this cloth, right? Because there is space for them. For a little virus, this cross threads may look like large spaces through which it can go. So, is sight absolute? Size absolute or relative to the object? Okay. Then what is left in the object? The shape. Oh, it's a cube. This is because all of us are equipped with a particular kind of eye, with a particular kind of lens in the eye of a certain power, convex lens. Yes or no? We all have a convex lens. Does anybody have a concave lens in the eye? Then the world will look different. The heavenly nymphs are flying. So, therefore, we see this shape as a square. Because of this eye, because of this instrument of perception. What if I am born unusual person with my eye lens different from the ordinary, fluted, or like the common housefly, I have compound eyes. And then how will I see the cube? I'm talking about subjective, not the objective. How will I see it? I may see it completely different. I might see a collection of cubes. And depending upon the lens, I will see something else. He always has a camera. It depends on how you look through, what filters you put to change, and so on. So, if there is another creature who sees the cube as an oval, which is the actual shape of the cube. For me it's a cube, yes, okay. What about the other creature? It's not. Sometimes I wonder, when the elephant looks at us and gets frightened or worried, maybe its eyes are such, we don't know, we have to get into the elephant and check. Maybe it sees us like huge things coming towards it, who knows? We don't know. But we are accustomed to regard what we observe only as the truth, not the absolute truth. But वो दूर बैठी हुई है So, he's announcing that your wife is waiting for you as if she's far away. Anyway, so what did I say? This is the problem with thinking of wives, huh? What did I say? Elephant. So, but there is no doubt that something is there. You may say it is a round or a globe or a square or a cube or a black or white, but something is there. The viewer, the observer might see it in different ways, but something is there, right? It can't be there is nothing that you are viewing. There must be something. So say the ancient teachers, the isness that is true, but what it is not true. This mistaking something for what you conclude it is called Maya. The reality is, it is. The isness is the reality. Not what it is or what it looks to us like, because that keeps changing. This is what Vasishtha keeps talking about throughout in some way or the other. The other is also because we are human beings with feelings and so on. 5 people can view the same object or the same person in 5 different ways because we are connected through emotions. But what you are looking at may be entirely different. We have colored it with our feelings, and so it's relative. Okay, that's one side. The other, in a dream, you see everything as real. When you wake up, it does not exist. I also dream sometimes. Not that I don't dream, but then I wake up inside. But just now before coming, I dreamt that I had kept a bag somewhere with my passport and somebody took it off. Then I said to myself, it doesn't matter if it goes, but then all the visas are in it. So what am I going to do? And I woke up, there is no passport, there is no bag. Right? So it happens to everybody. Even people who are established in the inner reality also dream many times. But you can immediately find that it's a dream before even you wake up. So this is the essence of reality. That a dream is so real, and yet when you wake up it's a dream. So who knows whether what we think now is real? Because when you're dreaming, if I come into your dream and say, hey, you're dreaming, they say, oh, shut up. Rarely you come in a dream and now you're saying it's... But now I'll say the same thing. I'm here and you're sitting here, maybe it's part of a huge universal dream. When the dream is over, nothing is there except the true reality, which is your inner self. This is what Vasishtha. Now since we are on the subject, our country, Bharat, is unique in many ways, but one uniqueness is that when the rest of the world was generally looking at the outside world and trying to figure out how to improve and so on, how to make guns or whatever, this country, there were a group of people sitting down and exploring the mind to find out what is this that is the mind, and is there something behind in the inner essence of the mind which gives mind the capacity to think or makes the mind conscious. So the research went into that, which is why For a long time we were not so much caught up with the material civilization. Of course, we caught up with one problem, is that we forgot that. And we are only with this now. I hope not all, but so anyway. So in this country of ours, the idea about spiritual, religion, inner life, soul, mind, all this has been thoroughly researched. People spend years researching. If you want to see the result, it's there in the Upanishads, which are the earliest outpourings of those who discovered this truth. Now, while this is true, since the subject was so vast, different sections were created out of this knowledge, and they are called the Darshanas. Shat Darshanas, 6 Darshanas. I mean 6 ways of looking at the truth. The 6 Darshana, because the word Darshana doesn't mean a philosophy. As people say, 6, no. Darshana means coming face to face with the real. This is darshan. When you say, aapka darshan ho gaya, means what? You are face to face and you have seen. This is called darshan. So each of these streams is called a darshan. Sankhya, Vedanta, Yoga, Nyaya, and so on. Now, therefore, many schools of thought came out of this. One of them, which I think is the earliest, and which Adi Shankara, Bhagavad Pad, commented upon, mostly. This was called Advaita, Advaita Vedanta. Now Vedanta means end of the Vedas, which is the Upanishad. Advaita means according to the Advaita school of thought among the Darshanas, commented upon voluminously by the great teachers from Gaudapada down to Shankar Bhagavad and so on. There is only one truth. There is nothing else. Everything else is an appearance. This is what Vasishtha is trying also to convey in some way. Everything is an appearance on that truth, or comes from the truth and goes back, but only there is one supreme Brahman, which is the Absolute. There are no jivas. The jivas are also appearances. When it's understood that it is an appearance, then you are left with only the reality. So it means there are no two, there is no duality, there is only one. This is the Advaita. Now from this, after a while came another great Acharya, whose name was Ramanuja. He interpreted they all have interpreted the Upanishads. He interpreted the Upanishads and of course the Gita as Visishtadvaita. It is true, everything is one, but at certain times when they appear as two, they need to be accepted as two, because human beings are not in the absolute all the time, and therefore he admitted that the jivas also possess the quality of Paramatman, and the Paramatman is there and the jiva is there in a limited form like you and I. When the jiva gets purified, it merges into the infinite. If you say that to a pure Advaitin, he will say that since the jiva is limited and if it merges with the infinite no longer remains infinite. Then it becomes a conglomeration of finites. Anyway, that's a technical question. And Ramanujacharya also, because when in his time, Advaita Vedanta had gone deep into the system, but then people stuck to the external and forgot the essence. So it became kind of very dry. Like you read Yoga Vasishtha, I need to entertain you sometimes, otherwise it's so dry. So Ramanuja said, no, this is not allowed to happen, we should do something about this. So he introduced the concept of devotion. Devotion to the Supreme Being whom he decided to call Narayana. And all jivas are part of that Narayana. In the end, they will all merge there. He also said that like water being water everywhere, in the Sangam, in the rivers, in the sea, in the little ponds, and this little water that is kept here in a glass, while it is true that it is water, no difference. It is the Brahman, okay. But if you need to run a ship, it can only be done in the river or in the sea. It can't be done in this glass of water, although it is the same. So that larger context where you saw the Brahman as the sea or the river, he called Ishvara. In this as the Jiva. But they are the same. Because they are the same, it's called Visishtha but Advaita. Visishtadvaita. Then many years passed. Both were kind of forgotten and people said, oh, anyway we are going to merge with the Supreme, so we can lead our lives as we want and do what the hell we want and so on. So the attachment to the senses increased. Human beings lost touch with that reality. Then came another teacher called Madhva, who said, no, these are two. The Jiva is separate, the Supreme Being is separate. Like Ramanujacharya, in a way, he called the Supreme as Narayana, and Krishna, he said, is the Purna avatar of Narayana. And the Jiva is part. The Jiva, when it is purified, when it is without any mala whatsoever, when it becomes nirmala, then he was more humble. He said then the reflection of the Brahman, of the Supreme, is seen in the Jiva. That's about all you can do. Can't merge. He said if you merge, then that becomes a collection of conditioned Jivas. It cannot be, it is unconditioned. But what I wanted to tell you, that all the three Acharyas and after that Vallabhacharya, Nimbarkacharya, in India the variety is endless. Nobody disputes the fact that when we start the enquiry, our mind is impure, agitated, attached to the senses. All the three agree, there is no dispute there. And the whole of your practice is to free yourself from that attachment, to detach yourself from the pull of the senses. When that happens, the mind becomes purified. No dispute on that. Well, after it becomes purified, you can find out for yourself if there is only one or two or three. I would say one, but you can figure out. So I'm just telling you, because after you go from this, somebody will say no, it is like, you get a little confused. There are different ways of looking at it. Once I asked Maheshwarnath Babaji, this is a little bit confusing, Babaji. All great people must have had the same experience, and they're talking in a different way. He said, let me tell you this. To begin with, Dvaita is a wonderful thing, because you have the Brahman or Krishna or Narayana, and you want to approach, and therefore you purify your mind. He said, if you think in the beginning that there is only the Brahman, nothing else, then you won't do anything. So it is, so let it be. You need to change to find it. You need to purify your mind. So the first approach is good when you start. As you go along, automatically in your spiritual journey you come to the second. As you persist in it, then you go to the ultimate understanding that there is only one. Now, I have been in close touch with Acharyas belonging to all the denominations. I go down to all. So I had one very senior person from the dualistic, from the Madhva order. He is no more, passed away. So we used to, there is a Krishna temple in Udupi. And this Krishna temple in Udupi is managed by Ashtamathas, 8 monasteries, 8 mathas. And every 3.5 years or 4 years, they change. And this particular person I'm talking to was one of the heads of this. He is no more, passed away. Very nice person. Very, very kind, very, very nice. Very, very small also. And I used to go to Udupi to the temple. Please, all this is relevant to what we are doing, so please. To the Udupi temple because my in-laws stayed close by. Morning walk, they were not interested, so I used to go to the temple. And after the puja was over, he will come out from there. So when they are in charge, they are supposed to do the puja. And then I would come out and we will meet. He said, when did you come? Well, we used to, I don't know much Kannada, so we used to converse in what you call Laghu Sanskrita Bhasha, which is similar to Hindi a little bit. When did you come? Oh, I just came to. How are your in-laws? And they are all, he knows all of them. They are all fine. Okay. And then come, let's go to the matha. So we go there. And in the matha, nobody drinks coffee or anything, only milk. But some South Indian filter coffee would be made for me. We call in the kitchen and they go in. And then we sit down and talk about this. One day I told him, Swamiji, I have something to say. Suppose I am fond, you can hear me or is my voice going down? No. Suppose I am a devotee of Krishna, let's say, and I am meditating on Krishna. Okay? After some time, the meditation is so deep. I am not aware that I exist. There is only Krishna. So, is there one or two? He said, there is only one. Hey, wait a minute. He said, no, there are two because you come up. That's all right. I mean, so is what it is. People come from different schools. But one thing is clear. If you want to progress on this path and touch the reality, the mind has to be cleansed. Everybody agrees on this. Whatever be the sadhana that you do, the mind has to be made pure and not attached to anything. It should be clear. When it's clear, when it neither is repulsed nor attracted by anything, then it becomes steady. And when it becomes steady, all the vrittis are removed. This is what the other darshana, the yoga darshana says, chitta vritti nirodha. May all the vrittis of the chitta be removed. It can be done in many ways. It can be done through devotion, it can be done through meditation, it can be done through analysis as it is done in the Vedanta. After that you decide whether 1, 2, it doesn't matter. once in Nilkant, had a a strange experience. There were two groups of people who were arguing for 6 days. It's a Shastric discussion. There were the Bairagi Vaishnavites with these namas here, and there were the Shaivites with the ash like this. You know, the Bairagis in India, the so-called Babajis they are called, they have like Akal Kotkar Maharaj kind of thing. And there are the Shaivites who believe only in Shiva, they don't care for Vishnu. All these things happen in our country. They put ashes this way, ashes. So this 6 days it was going on. On the 7th day, both the heads decided, let's go ask Babaji. Because there was no end in sight. They were going. So I was also there, a young fellow sitting there, and Maheshwarnath Babaji with his big matted hair sitting. And they were sitting on two sides and discussing the matter. Suddenly he asked them, both of them, at the moment you are having a discussion on this, which means you have no anubhava, you have no experience. Reading the books, you are saying it is this or it is that. That's what is happening, right? That's okay. I understand. So what do you worship? They said we worship the feet now of the Lord, Padukas. Vairagis are given Padukas. We worship Padukas. And the other guy said we worship Shiva's symbols. The Damaru, like the deer that flies, the Trishul. Okay. How long have you been doing this? Several years. Now please do it with complete attention. In one day, you will actually have darshan of your deity. When you have the darshan of your deity, then you can see if he is wearing this or wearing this. Why are you fighting now? So the personal experience is very, very important, and what Vasishtha is trying to say and Rama is asking is, what is it ultimately that exists? What are we looking at? And please remember that after this, after hearing Yoga Vasishtha, Rama went away into the forest. He did many things. He didn't say, okay, the Brahman is absolute and went to sleep. He did everything. The entire Ramayana has happened. But in the core of his heart there was no movement whatsoever. Therefore, the great rishis refer to Rama as Shuddha Brahma Paratpara. Shuddha Brahma Paratpara Ram. Kalatmika Parameshwara Ram. Why? Because even though he was Dasharatha's son, deep down he was Shuddha Brahma. This is what we should understand. Live in this world, do all your work, whatever. Don't go after Rakshasas because you won't be able to find one. But understand that in the essence of your being there is only the truth, the Brahman. Now for that, you may approach it through worshipping any of the forms. You may. But in the end, understand they all merge into one. There is only one reality. So we stopped here where Rama asked Vasishtha, tell me when and how 3 demons will attain liberation, right? And so everybody is listening, good. How did that happen? Did we read that also? Yes. About Kashmir. Now Vasishtha continued. O Rama, they who are established in the state of liberation, as pointed out by the scriptures, surely cross this ocean of world appearance, as their consciousness flows constantly towards the inner self. But they who are caught in the net of polemics, like the two parties who were arguing, which are only productive of sorrow and confusion, forfeit their own highest good. Even in the case of the path shown by the scriptures, only one's direct experience leads one along to the supreme goal. Without direct experience, it's merely theory. What else is left of a greedy person except a handful of ashes? But he who looks upon the world as less valuable than a blade of grass never comes to grief. He who has fully realized the infinite is protected by the cosmic deities. Hence, one should not set foot on the wrong path even in times of distress. He who has earned a good reputation through a virtuous life gains whatever has not been gained and is rid of misfortune. Only he can be considered a human being who is not complacent with his own virtue, who is devoted to the teaching he has heard, and who strives to walk on the path of truth. Others are animals in human disguise. He who is filled with milk of human kindness is surely the abode of the Lord Hari, who is said to dwell in the ocean of milk. So with the compassion and the milk of human kindness, Narayana dwells in that ocean of milk. When you say Narayana, it is the Supreme Being. You can call Narayana, you can say Shivam, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, or you can say the Parabrahman, I am Atma, Brahma, whatever words you use. Whatever has to be enjoyed has already been enjoyed. Whatever has to be seen has been seen. What else is there new in this world which a wise person should seek? Hence, one should be devoted to one's duty as ordained by the scriptures, having given up all craving and for pleasure. Adore the saints. If you have any time, adore the saints. This will save you from death. Adhering to the injunctions of the scriptures, one should patiently wait for perfection. Adhering to the injunctions of the scriptures, one should patiently wait for perfection which comes in its own time. Don't think today I have read the Yoga Vasishtha, I am free tomorrow. Maybe. But generally you have to wait for it to happen. As the ideas that you gather sink deep into your psyche, slowly you become free. It may not happen in a day, it could happen in a day or two. It depends on what you carry from your past. Inquire constantly into the nature of truth, knowing that this is but a reflection. Do not be led by others. Only animals are led by others. Wake up from the slumber of ignorance. Wake up and strive to end old age and death. Which means what? Realize that There is an element in us which is not born and therefore will not die. Now here is thing which I should not read here, because we live in this world which is like this, but what to do? It's written in the Yoga Vasishtha, okay? So don't worry too much about it. Yeah. Wealth is the mother of evil. Somebody said many years ago, in some other continent, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Who said? Jesus Christ. Now if you take it seriously, everything will come to a standstill, right? Because from childhood we are taught wealth. But is there a wealth which is other than physical wealth? Is there a wealth that is in the heart, which can never be taken away by thieves? If that is there, the other wealth may be or may not be, doesn't matter really. Because then there is no uncertainty, there is no fear. When you have something, when you have wealth, you are always afraid it will go away. When you say it goes or not, I am wealthy within. What I have noticed is, Prakriti, nature is very funny. When you want something and cry for it and go behind it, it keeps moving away, not in your grasp. When you say it is nonsense, I don't want, then it comes behind you, trying to catch you. Very interesting. So if you even want to have wealth, the best thing is to say, hey, who cares? Wealth is the mother of evil. Sense pleasure is the source of pain. Misfortune is the best fortune. Rejection by all is victory. Can one live like that? Usually if you are rejected, then you feel terrible. Rejection is victory. Rejection by all is victory. Life, honor and noble qualities blossom and attain fruition in one whose conduct and behavior are good and pleasant, who is devoted to seclusion and who does not crave for the pleasures of the world which lead to suffering. O Rama, every zealous effort is always crowned with fruition. Hence, do not abandon right effort. Weigh the worthiness of the end result. You will surely discover that self-knowledge alone is capable of utterly destroying all pain and pleasure. Hence, zealous effort should be directed towards self-knowledge alone. Get rid of all the notions of objectivity created by the pleasure-seeking desire within you. Is there any happiness which is untainted by unhappiness? Is there any happiness that is untainted by unhappiness? Both the absence of restraint and the practice of restraint are indeed one in the absolute Brahman. There is no real division between them. Yet, the practice of restraint bestows joy. Hence, resort to self-restraint and give up the ego sense. Thus have I explained to you in 1,000 ways the essential unreality of the world as an object of perception. It is nothing but the pure space of consciousness that is real. But in accordance with its own nature, it closes and opens its eyes as it were, and then there is creation and there is dissolution. When it is not rightly understood, the I appears to be an impure notion in the infinite consciousness. But when the I is rightly understood, its meaning is seen as the infinite consciousness. When this truth is revealed to one with a pure mind, his ignorance is at once dispelled. But others cling to their own false notion like a child clinging to the notion of the existence of a ghost. When the I as a separate entity is thus known to be false, how can one believe in the other notions of hell, heaven, etc.? Craving for heaven and even for liberation arises in one's heart only as long as the I is seen as an entity. As long as this I remains, there is only unhappiness in one's life. And this notion of the I cannot be got rid of except through self-knowledge. However, the higher form of I-ness, which gives rise to the feeling I am one with the entire universe, there is nothing apart from me, is the understanding of the enlightened person. When you have understood that, you may either engage in activity or remain in seclusion. There is no fear of downfall. So where will one fall? O Rama, Vasishtha continued, after Shambhara had been deserted by the three demons, Dhamma, Vyala and Kaca, we read that story already, he realized that they had foolishly entertained egoistic notions and thus come to grief. So what did he do? He decided to create more asuras. But this time, we are also like that. When one asura fails, we create another one. But this time, what did he do? He gave them self-knowledge and wisdom so that they may not fall into the same trap of ego sense. Shambhara thereupon created by his own magic power three more demons known as Bhima, Bhasa and Dhrida. They were omniscient. They were endowed with self-knowledge. Those were robots which were produced before. But these self-knowledge, full of dispassion and sinless, they regarded the whole universe as of no more value than a blade of grass. They began to oppose the army of the gods. In spite of fighting for a considerable time, the ego sense did not arise in them. This is what you will find also in the great Rama. No ego sense, fighting with the Rakshasas, Ravana and others. And Surpanaka was always going around the hermitage, hoping that his eyes would fall on her. Not deluded. Now, whenever the ego sense raised its head, they subdued it with self-enquiry, asking, hey, who am I? They were therefore free from the fear of death, devoid of the feeling, I did this. They did the work allotted to them by Shambhara. The army of Devas was quickly defeated. Devas fled to Lord Vishnu for refuge. At his command, they took up their abode in another region. After this, Lord Vishnu himself had to fight with the demon Shambhara. But then, because he was slain by the Lord, the demon instantly reached the abode of Vishnu. So there are two approaches. One is love God, other is hate God. Ravana is supposed to have reached heaven. because he hated Rama. Why? Because when you hate something or when you love something, your mind is always occupied with that particular thing. And so you reach there in the end anyway. And both are necessary for the movement of history. It goes on. But those who are involved are actually not involved. It's very funny, but since Lord Vishnu defeated and killed demon Sambara, Sambara instantly reached the abode of Vishnu. Lord Vishnu also liberated Bhima, Bhasa and Dhrida, who, when their bodies fell, became enlightened. Why? Because they had no ego sense. O Rama, the conditioned mind alone is bondage. Conditioned mind alone is bondage, and liberation is when the mind is unconditioned. The conditioning of the mind drops away when the truth is clearly seen and realized. And when the conditioning has ceased, one's consciousness is made supremely peaceful, as when the flame of a lamp is put out. To realize that self alone is all this, whatever one may think of anywhere, is clear perception. Conditioning and the mind are but words without truth. When the truth is investigated, they cease to be meaningful. This is clear perception. When this clear perception arises, there is liberation. Dhamma, Vyala and Kaca illustrate the mind that is conditioned by the ego. Bhima, Bhasha and Dhrida illustrate the mind that is free from conditioning. O Rama, do not be like the former, but be like the latter. That is the reason why I narrated this story to you, my dear and intelligent disciple. O Rama, they are the true heroes who have brought under control the mind which is dominated by ignorance and delusion. Such control of the mind is the only way by which one can remedy the sufferings of this world appearance or cycle of birth and death and this endless chain of tragedy. I shall declare to you the essence of all wisdom. Listen and let it perfume your whole life. Bondage is the craving for pleasure. Abandoning it is liberation already. Vasishtha continued, O Rama, this universe exists in the infinite consciousness just as future waves exist in a calm sea. This self, the Supreme Brahman, which permeates everything, is that which enables you to experience sound, taste, form and fragrance. It is transcendental and omnipresent. It is non-dual and pure. In it, there is not even a notion of another. All these diversities, existence, non-existence, good and evil, are vainly imagined by ignorant people. It matters not whether this imagination is said to be based on the self or non-self. Now, the sense of doership, the notion that I do this, which gives rise to both happiness or unhappiness, which gives rise to the state of yoga, is also fictitious in the eyes of the wise. To the ignorant, it is real. Now I want to tell you a story from one of the Upanishads to illustrate this. There are many Upanishads, we won't go into that, but there is one of them from the Samaveda called the Who Upanishad. Who. In Sanskrit it's not called who, It's called Keno Upanishad. It's from the Samaveda. Starts with profound questions, but as Upanishads are, it ends with a beautiful story. So I want to tell you that story because you don't want to go into who is seeing when I say I see and Kene chitam patati prasitam manaha kena prana pranama praiti yuktaha kene chitam vacham imamat. Let's not go into that. Let's go to the last, to the story. The Supreme Brahman looked down into the earth and found that the gods have become very proud and egotistic. Having become proud and egotistic, they lost the connection with the Supreme. And who are the main gods in the Vedas? Agni, Vayu, Indra, the lord of the gods, the lord of the senses, 5 senses. So the Supreme Brahman decided to teach them a lesson so that they recover their connection. So he came down to the earth in the form of a yaksha. When you say yaksha, it means something neither a human nor a god. You cannot identify it easily. So the yaksha appeared somewhere on the foothills of the Himalayas, according to the latest statement that comes. And these three, Vayu, Agni, the lord of fire, the lord of wind, the lord of the senses, 5 senses, Indra, they're all standing there and wondering, who is this yaksha which is there? Something we have never seen before. So Agni is always ready to act, fire. Igne, between two people it arises the fire of desire, Agni. When something has to be melted, it's the fire that helps. When something has to be reduced to ashes, it is the fire that helps. Fire is mighty. When you do a yaga, it is the fire into which all oblations are poured, thinking that here you pour and everything is turned to ashes and only the spirit remains. So Agni is one of the important gods in the Vedas, worshipped. So Agni said, let me go and find out who this yaksha is. So Agni went near the yaksha. He wanted to ask the yaksha, who are you? Before that, the yaksha asked him, who are you? You know, the Upanishad is who, Keno. The yaksha asked Agni, who are you? Agni said, I am Jata Vedas, I know all the Vedas. I am celebrated by all the Vedas. I am Agni, the fire. I can burn down anything. I can reduce everything to ashes. One spark of mine is enough to set up the forest fire in California. I am the Lord of fire. I am also the Lord of desire by which humans burn to ashes. I am the greatest. So the yaksha said, okay. The yaksha plucked a blade of grass and held it before him and said, burn this. Now Agni tried all the tricks of his trade. No chance. This little trina, this little blade of grass would not burn. So he got very confused. Never this has happened to him before. So he came back to the company and he said, I don't know what this fellow is, this yaksha. He said, burn, and I could not burn a blade of grass which he held before me. So who is this? So his friend Vayu said, oh, don't worry, brother, I'll go now. Vayu, you know what is Vayu? Wind, air, and so on. So Vayu went there, and again before he could open his mouth, the Yaksha asked him, okay, so who are you? He said, I am I used to sit for hours with my folded legs, all day just catching up. So anyway, it's okay. Huh? Now I look like a Mathatipati. Anyway, so what did I say? Vayu, the air, the wind. So the Yaksha asked him, okay, who are you? Vayu said, I am the mighty wind. I am the hurricane and the cyclone. I can blow away anything I want. Plus, I am the air because of which human beings live, living beings live. I am the air that they breathe. I am Mukhya Prana, which lives in the human being. I am the wind. Yaksha showed him the same blade of grass which was shown to the fire and said, now, blow this. Vayu huffed and puffed and did all the tricks possible. He couldn't move it even a little bit. So he came back, retired, hurt, came back and said to them, oh God, I don't know what this is. He still didn't know that is God. God, what is this? I can't do this, I cannot understand, I can't move the blade of grass. So Indra, the lord of all the gods. Now Indra is also the lord of all the senses, Panchendriyas. The sense organs are called Panchendriyas, the 5 sense organs. He is the lord of the senses. So he went. But when he went close to the Yaksha to talk, he could not see the Yaksha. The Yaksha was there, he felt it, but he could not see it. So he could not say a word. And the Yaksha was also silent. He came back. All the 3 of them were standing on the foothills of the Himalayas, scratching their heads and wondering what is going on. Who is this Yaksha now? When suddenly materialized a beautiful lady, not those flying nymphs, but a beautiful lady. You know, always, so all of them looked at her. Normal, right? And the Upanishad describes her as Bahushobhamanam, very beautiful. And she was Parvati, the daughter of the Himalayas. So they told her, look, this is what happened, can you help us? Do you? She said, fools, idiots. The energy that you have, fire, the energy to burn, air, the energy to move, Panchendriyas, Indra, the energy of the sense organs, all these exist from there. That is the one from where all the power that you have comes. You have begun to think that you have the power. Your ego has grown. Actually, all that you have belongs to that Yaksha who is there, which is the Brahman. And it was to teach you this lesson that he came. Now there is one school of inquiry, which is called the Tantra school, especially the Shaktas, who therefore claim that to understand the Supreme Brahman, you need the intervention of a beautiful lady, Shakti, Devi, Bahushobhamanam. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I know that there is one lady hiding in all of us, in the Muladhara, as the Bindu, as the Kula Kundali, which leads us to understand what we had discussed just now properly. This I think I know. But I know because the know comes from the Supreme Brahman, not mine. The moment I say I know, I'm in trouble. Okay, let's continue. Valmiki said, now Valmiki came. He is the one who is relating the whole story. Rama asked, what did Rama ask? Lord, Brahman is free from sorrow, and yet that which has emerged from it is the universe which is full of sorrow. How is this possible? Rama has the questions which you cannot even imagine. Valmiki now said, hearing this question, Vasishtha contemplated for a while. He was also stunned, so he contemplated for a while. Obviously, Rama's understanding is not efficient because there is still some impurity in the mind. If the mind is pure, then it instantly comprehends the truth. Hence it is said that he who declares all is Brahman to one who is ignorant or half awakened goes to hell. To say that I will live as I like, but all is Brahman, is certainly doomed to failure. A wise teacher, therefore, should encourage his students first to be established in self-control and tranquility. Then you can say all is Brahman, not before that. Otherwise there is a danger also of saying, I am the Brahman, come. So, if the mind is pure, then it instantly comprehends the truth. Hence it is said that he who declares all this is Brahman to one who is ignorant or half awakened goes to hell straight. A wise teacher should encourage his students first to be established in self-control and tranquility. Then the student should be properly examined before the knowledge of the truth is imparted to him. So actually I am not doing a good thing. As I said, Babaji said, it is time to open these things out to the general human being because time has come. We have evolved enough to grasp this. Vasishtha said, you will discover the truth for yourself, whether Brahman is free from sorrow or not, or I shall help you understand in course of time. Consciousness is Brahman. The mind is Brahman. The intellect is Brahman. Brahman alone is the substance. Sound or word is Brahman, and Brahman alone is the component of all substances. All indeed is Brahman. There is nothing other than the Brahman. Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havir, Brahma Agno, Brahmana Hutam, Brahma Ivatena Gandhavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. Everything is Brahma. This is from the Gita. Just as when dirt is removed, the real substance is made manifest. Just as when the darkness of the night is dispelled, the objects that were shrouded by the darkness are clearly seen. Even so, when ignorance is dispelled, truth is realized. This ignorance will not go away without self-knowledge. And self-knowledge arises only when the scriptures are studied deeply. Whatever may be the origin of this ignorance, surely even that exists in the self. Hence, O Rama, find out what this ignorance is. Find out how shall I get rid of it. When this ignorance of Maya has ceased, then you shall see the truth. Same thing, repeated again in different words. O Rama, those who are busy with diverse affairs in this world, like you and me, in pursuit of pleasure and power, do not desire to know the truth, which they obviously do not see. I'll repeat. O Rama, they who are busy with the diverse affairs in this world in pursuit of pleasure and power do not desire to know the truth, which they obviously do not see. He who is wise, who is not completely controlled the pleasure-seeking tendencies of the senses, sees the truth and also sees the illusion. And he who has clearly understood the nature of the world and of the jiva, and has firmly rejected the world appearance as reality, is liberated and is not born again. The ignorant strive for the welfare of the body and not of the self. Be not like the ignorant, O Rama, but be wise. To illustrate this, I shall now narrate to you an interesting legend. In the country known as Magadha, which has an abundance of pleasure gardens, there lived a sage by name Dasura. Dasura the sage was engaged in breathtaking penance, tapasya. He was a great ascetic who had no interest in worldly pleasures at all. He was also learned. He was the son of another sage known as Sharaloma. But as ill luck could have it, he lost both his parents when he was young. The deities of the forest took pity on this orphan, who was inconsolable in his grief, and they said to him, "O wise boy, you are the son of a sage. Why do you weep like an ignorant fool? Do you not know the evanescent nature of this world appearance? Young one, such is the very nature of this world appearance. Things come into being, exist for a while, and then gone. Whatever being there appears to be, from the relative point of view, even if that being is Brahma, the creator, is subject to this end, inevitable end. There is no doubt about this. Hence do not grieve over the inevitable death of your parents. The young boy, being the son of a sage, immediately grasped what was being said. His sorrow was ameliorated. He got up and performed the funeral rites of his parents. Then he began to lead a rigorously religious life, hemmed in on all sides with do's and don'ts. Since he has not yet realized the truth, he was immersed in the performance of the rituals with all their injunctions and prohibitions. So till then one has to, this is what it is. All this created in him a feeling that the whole world is full of impurities. He sought to live in an unpolluted place. So naturally he didn't go to Delhi. A treetop, he decided. Wishing to live on a treetop, he performed a sacred rite during which he cut off and offered his own flesh into the sacred fire. The Tibetans' secret practices, they have one thing like this. Soon the fire deity himself appeared before him. The fire deity got worried, announced, wait, you will surely attain the wish which has already appeared in your heart. After accepting the ascetic's worship, the fire disappeared. The sage then saw in front of him a huge kadamba tree which had a majestic appearance. It seemed to wipe with its hands its foliage, the tears of his beloved sky. It had actually covered the space between the heaven and the earth with the thousands of his branches, and it stood like the cosmic form of the Lord. The sun and the moon for his eyes, laden with flowers, it rained them on the holy and the divine sages who traversed the sky, and the bees that dwelt on it, sang a song of welcome to those sages. The detailed description of the tree is graphic and beautiful. We will not go into that now. The sage ascended this tree, which stood like a pillar linking heaven and earth. He sat on the topmost branch of the tree. For a brief moment, he let his eyes roam in all directions after sitting up there. He had a vision of the cosmic being. Now in chapter 50 you will find a description of that. I am not doing it now. Because he had taken his abode on the Kadamba tree, he had came to be known as Kadamba Dasura. His name was Dasura, but he became Kadamba Dasura. He commenced his penances sitting on the top of the tree. He had been accustomed to the ritualistic performances enjoined in the Vedas, so he engaged himself in their performance, but this time mentally, naturally on top of the tree. He cannot have a home kund, he cannot light a fire. So like some people who do Mahamudra mentally, sitting on a chair, he sat on the tree and started performing. No, somebody told me, I like Mahamudra, I do it 3-4 times a day. I said, 3-4 times a day? That's quite good. Yeah, she said, in my mind. So, he sat on the tree and then began to perform the rituals in his mind. Yet, such is the power of such mental performance, that even that Mahamudra, that it purified the sage's mind and heart, and he attained pure wisdom. Now again wait, there's a nymph coming. One day, he beheld in front of him a nymph, clad only in flowers, She was extremely beautiful. The sage asked her, "Oh, beautiful lady, with your radiance you can overpower even Cupid, Kamadeva. Who are you?" She replied, "Lord, I am a deity of the forest. In this world," now 1 minute, is this deity or deity, which is correct? I am correcting my English, huh? Somebody is saying deity. Both are correct. So then, Lord, I am a deity of the forest. In this world, nothing is unattainable to one who resorts to the presence of an enlightened sage like you. I have just been to attend a festival in the forest where I met several goddesses of the forest, each one of them with her offspring. I was the only one among them who had no children, hence I am unhappy. However, when you are in this forest, why should I be unhappy? Grant me a son, or I shall reduce myself to ashes in front of you. I will burn myself to ashes. Produce a child for me. The sage picked up a creeper from the tree and handing it to her said, "Go. Just as this creeper will produce flowers in a month, you too will give birth to a son." He did a very good trick. Picked a creeper and said, "Take this creeper. In 1 month it will produce flowers, even though I plucked it. And you will also give birth to a son." The grateful goddess went away. She returned to the sage. It's not ending there. She returned to the sage after 12 years with the son of that age, 12 years old. She said, "Lord, this is your son." Must have been astounded. "This is your son. And I have instructed him in all branches of learning. I pray that you may instruct him in self-knowledge, for who will let one's son grow into a fool?" Sage accepted to do so, and the goddess went away. From that day, the sage began to instruct the young man in all the branches of self-knowledge. During this period, says Vasishtha, I was myself going over that very tree in the aerial Vahana. During this period, says Vasishtha, I was myself going over that very tree and heard the sage's instruction to the son. The Asura now, Kadamba the Asura is instructing his son. The Asura said, I shall illustrate with a story what I wish to say concerning this world. There lives a mighty king named Khottha, who is capable of conquering the 3 worlds. The deities presiding over the worlds faithfully honor his commands. No one can even catalogue his innumerable deeds which were productive of both happiness and unhappiness. His valor could not be challenged by anyone using any weapon whatsoever, or even by fire, any more than one can hit space with a fist. Even Indra, Vishnu and Shiva could not equal him in his enterprises. This king is not like us. This king had 3 bodies. 3 bodies, 1, 2, 3. When he is sitting here, there is one here and here. which had completely engulfed the worlds, and they were respectively the best, the middling, and the least. This king arose in space and got established in space. There the king built a city with 14 roads and 3 sectors. In it were pleasure gardens, beautiful mountain peaks for sports, and 7 lakes with pearls and creepers in them. In it there were 2 lights which were hot and cold, and whose light never diminished. In that city the king created several types of beings. Some were placed above, some were placed in the middle, and yet others below. Of them, some were long-lived, others were short-lived. They were covered with black hair. They had 9 gates. They were well ventilated. They had 5 lamps, 3 pillars, and white support wooden poles made of white colored wood. They were soft and clay plastering. All this was created by the Maya, or the illusory power of the king. It's like magic. Here the king besports himself with all the ghosts and goblins which are afraid of enquiry or investigation. Here the king besports himself, enjoys himself, plays with all the ghosts and goblins which are afraid of enquiry or investigation. That had been created to protect the mansions, the different bodies. When he thinks of moving, he thinks of a future city and contemplates migrating there. Surrounded by the ghosts, he runs fast to the new abode after leaving the previous one and occupies the new city built in the fashion of a magic creation. He can't run to a new city, all the goblins also run with him. In that again, when he contemplates destruction, he destroys himself. Sometimes he wails, "What shall I do? I am ignorant, I am miserable." Sometimes he is happy, other times he is very sad. Thus he lives and conquers, goes, talks, flourishes, shines, and does not shine. My son, thus this king is tossed in this ocean of world appearance. This Dasura continued. Thus has been illustrated the creation of the universe and man. Khottha, who arose in the great void, is none but a notion or an intention. This notion arises in the great void of his own accord and dissolves in the great void of his own accord. The entire universe and whatever there is in it is the creation of this notion or intention and nothing else. In fact, even the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva are the limbs of that notion. That intention alone is responsible for the creation of the 3 worlds, 14 regions and 7 oceans. The city built by the king is nothing but the living entity, which is different organs and their characteristics. Of the different kinds of beings thus created, some, the gods, are in a higher region, the others are in lower regions. Having built this imaginary city, the king placed it under the protecting care of ghosts. Ghosts are the security guards there, ghosts. And these ghosts, you can see easily, these ghosts. You may not be frightened, but you can see. Or you may be frightened. These ghosts are ahankara, the ego principle, which is guarding them. The king Thenceforth, sports in this world in his body. In a moment he sees the world in the waking state. After some time he shifts attention to the world within and enjoys his dreams. He moves from one city to another, from one body to another, from one realm to another. After many such movements, he develops wisdom, getting disillusioned with these worlds and their pleasures, and reaches the end of his wandering by the cessation of all notions. In one moment he seems to enjoy wisdom, next moment he is caught up in pleasure seeking, and in an instant his understanding gets perverted, just as in the case of a little child. When all such notions cease, then there is liberation. Even if one engages oneself in every other sort of spiritual endeavor, even if one has the gods themselves as one's teachers, even if one were in heaven or any other region, liberation is not had except through the cessation of all notions. But we all live with notions. We are like this king, right? We have notions. We have notions like I know, they don't know. They have notions like we know, he doesn't know. Right? So notions. When all such notions cease, then there is liberation. Even if one engages oneself in every sort of spiritual endeavor, even if one has gods themselves as one's teachers, and even if one were in heaven or any other region, liberation is not had except through the cessation of all notions. The real, the unreal, and the admixture of these two are but notions and nothing else. The notions themselves are neither real nor unreal. What then shall we call real in this universe? Hence my son. This is interesting. Morning, when I come for the satsang, all these birds are here. I think they are all listening, seriously. Then they go off. Evening, when I have a satsang, they are all here. I didn't know that till today. I asked somebody, where are these birds from? And our friend said, sir, morning they come for the satsang, then they go off and they come in the evening again. And then they disappear afterwards. I am 100% sure that one of these birds at least is going to achieve moksha. So I am very happy. Doesn't matter if human beings don't, one bird. Hence my son, give up these notions. Sometimes they keep quiet, sometimes they make. Give up these notions, thoughts and intentions. When they cease, the mind naturally turns to what is truly beyond the mind, which is the infinite consciousness. My son, when in the infinite consciousness, the consciousness becomes aware of itself as its own object, there is a seed of ideation. This is very subtle. But soon it becomes gross and fills the space, as it were. Therefore, there is no cause for sorrow in this world other than this ideation and notion. Do not entertain ideas. Do not hold on to the notion of your existence, for it is only by these that the future comes into being. Vasishtha continues. Hearing the sage's words, because he was flying through the heaven, to the sky, when he heard this instruction going on. So Vasishtha continues. Hearing the sage's words, I descended upon that Kadamba tree. For a considerable time, the three of us discussed self-knowledge, and I awakened in them the supreme knowledge. Then I took leave of them and went away. O Rama, this is meant to illustrate the nature of world appearance, and therefore this story is as true as the world itself. You may feel, I am not the doer, I do not exist. Or you might think, I am the doer and I am everything. Or you may inquire into the nature of the self, saying, who am I? And realize I am not any of this that is attributed to me. Rest established in the self, which is the highest state of consciousness, in which the best among the holy men who know of this state ever dwell. Now in this connection, O Rama, I remember an inspiring... now this leg is creating problems. What do I do? Can you... pull this a little, so... No. Just pull this. So there is some space for me. Ouch. That's all right. Sorry, I have to sit in this. Not to worry, there's a table in the middle. So, Vasishtha continued. In this connection, O Rama, I remember an inspiring song sung by the son of the preceptor of the gods, Kaca. This Kaca was established in self-knowledge. This particular Kaca was established in self-knowledge. He lived in a cave on the Mount Meru. His mind was saturated with the highest wisdom, and hence it was not attracted by any of the objects of the world composed of the five elements. Pretending to be in despair, Kaca sang this meaningful song. Listen to this. What did the song of Kaca? What shall I do? Where shall I go? What shall I try to hold? What shall I renounce? This entire universe is permeated by the One Self. This was his song. Sat on the top of Mount Meru and sang, Kim karomi, kva gacchami, kim grinami, tyajami kim, atmana puritam vishvam, maha kalpam bhona yatha. What shall I do? Where shall I go? What shall I try to hold? What shall I renounce? This entire universe is pervaded by oneself. Unhappiness or sorrow is the self. Right? You enjoy, not others. Happiness is also the self. All desires are but empty and void. Having known all this is the self, I am freed from all travail. In this body, within and without, above and below, everywhere, here and there is only the self and self alone. There is no non-self. The self alone is everywhere. Everything exists as the self. All this is truly the self. I exist in the self as the self. I exist as all this, as the reality of all everywhere. I am fullness. I am the self-bliss. I feel the entire universe like the cosmic ocean. Thus he sang. And then, and he intoned the holy sound, Om, which resounded like a bell. He had merged his entire body in that holy sound. This is how you should chant the Om. When you sit for meditation in the morning, when you chant the Om, put your entire attention into it, your body, mind, soul, everything. He had merged his entire being in that holy sound. He was neither inside anything nor outside anything. This sage remained in that place totally absorbed in the self. The same consciousness that shines in the sun also dwells as the little worm that crawls in a hole on this earth. All is life. O Rama, one who is wise and who is capable of inquiring into the nature of truth should approach a good and learned person, and study the scriptures. This teacher should be free from craving for pleasure, and he should also have direct experience of the truth. With his help, one should study the scripture, and by the practice of the great yoga, one can reach the supreme state. It is by emulating the example of the holy ones that one makes progress towards the supreme goal. Rama, only a person who is intelligent like you. Now what Vasishtha is trying to convey is that the more you become like Rama, the more chances are there to find the truth. So how can you be like Rama? Valmiki describes as Maryada Purusha. The perfectly behaved, perfectly free from emotions, perfectly calm, peaceful and loving. Maryada Purusha. Vasishtha is saying, therefore, emulate the example of the holy ones and you make progress towards the supreme state. Rama, only a person who is intelligent like you, who is good-natured and equal-visioned like you, who sees only what is good and is entitled to the vision of wisdom which I have described. You, Rama, are already a liberated being. Live like one. The people listen to Sage Vasishtha's words of wisdom with total attention. Which people? In the palace of Dasharatha. In the evening, the congregation was given leave to retire for the day. When the assembly had thus dispersed, Vasishtha gave leave to the princess. After everybody went, he said, now you go. Nobody ran up and down and created a tumult. Vasishtha also they didn't leave bread pieces here and there. Vasishtha gave leave to the princess, Rama and his brothers to retire for the day. When night fell, all except Rama retired to bed. Rama could not sleep. Rama contemplated the illuminating words of the sage Vasishtha thus. What was he brooding on when he was on his bed? What exactly are the means that the sage Vasishtha has prescribed for the conquest of the senses and the mind, which are surely the sources of sorrow? It is impossible to abandon enjoyment of pleasure, and it is not possible to end sorrow without abandoning such enjoyment. This indeed is a problem. But since the mind is the crucial factor in all this, surely if the mind once tastes the supreme peace, freed of all world illusion, it will not abandon that and run after other pleasures. Oh, when will my mind rest in the infinite, even as a wave is reabsorbed in the ocean? When will I be free from all craving? When will I be blessed with equal vision? When will I get rid of this terrible fever of worldliness? O my intellect, you are my friend, contemplate the teachings of Sage Vasishtha in such a way that we shall both be saved from the miseries of this worldly existence. When the day dawned, Rama and others got up and performed their morning religious functions. Soon after this, all of them entered the assembly and took up their respective places. Opening the day's proceedings, Darshanas said, "O blessed Lord, we feel highly elevated by the words of supreme wisdom that you uttered yesterday. A deluded belief in the reality of this world appearance is also provided with a powerful challenge. Rama, only that day on which such sages are worshipped can be regarded as fruitful. All other days are darkness. So therefore this is your opportunity. Inquire and learn from the sage that which is worth learning." Rama said to Vasishtha, "O Lord, giving up sleep, I had spent the whole night meditating upon your enlightening words, endeavoring to see the truth that the words point to. Thus have I enshrined the truth in my heart. Who will not hear your teachings on this? Who will not bear your teachings on his head, knowing that they confer the highest bliss on him? At the same time, they are extremely sweet to hear. They promote every type of auspiciousness and they bring us the incomparable experience. Hence, O Lord, I pray, resume your most excellent discourse." Vasishtha said, "O Rama, kindly listen to this discourse on the dissolution of the universe and the attaining of supreme peace." So, the sun came down and the day ended and everybody went to practice their meditation. So are we going to go now? हो जाएगा. What is the name of that king there? Rama, the 6th, 7th, 4th. The king of Thailand is called Rama the 4th or something. 4th or 7th or something.